start.
We're off to a great start. We haven't even said hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Welcome back to the podcast.
The podcast.
It's not a podcast.
It still should be a podcast. Oh, well.
I am freezing, so I am not sorry about wearing this blanket
I mean, I went
today.
with fuzzy, too.
You know,
I had to. I can't feel my fingers.
Yeah.
It's not good.
It's like 9 degrees. I don't know where you're watching this from, but it is literally
9 degrees.
The air hurts your face.
But here we have a perk of masks. You wear the mask outside,
You know,
and it keeps your face
me
warm.
and my husband were talking about that, just today. Hey, I might keep wearing masks in the winter because now the air doesn't try to kill my face.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. I love that part of it.
I mean, it's fine. I would rather be on a sunny beach not wearing a mask. And,
oh, man, I'm daydreaming about Florida so bad today.
Oh, man. That's where it's at, though.
It is. In the winter. In the summer, it's awful.
As bad as this?
It hurts to walk outside.
Let's do the lesser of two evils here. Would you rather? Okay, yes, it does. It hurts your lungs to go outside here, and your face, and your skin starts to flake off.
Oh man, mine
and your
is
hair
getting
starts
bad.
to fall out. However,
Mine
if you
does that
walk
all year
outside in the
round.
middle of the summer in Florida or like Houston, where it's like soup weather, not like eating soup weather, like you are the soup.
I honestly don't know which one is worse because I've lived in Florida in the dead heat of the summer, and I know that if you don't have a pool, you don't want to go outside. It is killer. I finally understand why when you go to Florida and say you get a cab from the airport or whatever, you're down there, you get into the car, the air in the car is at about 62 degrees. You turn yourself into a popsicle because you know the second you walk outside, you are melted.
Hades awaits.
It's bad. It's rough. But I can't say which one's worse.
That's life, though.
It is. I mean, it's all about the balance. There's pros and cons to everything.
I think I would still rather prefer to be in Hades than this, but it is what it is. I mean, look at me. I was built for this weather, apparently.
How were you built for this
Look
weather?
at this white skin. Look how white I am.
That's because where we
I
live,
am
we don't get sun.
I am an alabaster queen.
It's not your fault the sun doesn't shine here, though.
I know it's not my fault.
And you wouldn't be the alabaster queen if you lived where the sun shined, but
I don't.
we don't have that.
No,
sad.
we don't have that.
Oh, well.
We got off topic.
We really did.
I wanted to talk today about a couple things, really. First of all, we never really discussed where the name Korology came from.
We didn't, and
Which-
I love that part of it.
Yeah, so it was kind of like it was a mixture of genius and also a joke. And I don't even know if you know that it was a joke, but it was kind of a joke.
Oh, I know it was. I know it was, and I think that made me love it more.
Just because of the silliness of it.
Yeah, because that's part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I can't take myself seriously. I laugh when I shouldn't. I smile 90% of the time, and it probably irritates the hell out of you.
It's fun. It's great. Smiling's my favorite.
But yeah, I did know it was, and I just kind of fell in love with it for that aspect.
Well, let's explain it.
Which part are we explaining first? What core means?
Yeah, you came up and you're like, you know what would be bitchin'? Is
that the phrase I used?
Yeah. Historical accuracy is important on this podcast.
Well, so how did I come up with it? My biggest thing, we sat down and we're talking about it over crepes.
Over crepes, which were so good.
It was a great decision to do this over crepes. And for me, my biggest reasoning behind this was, is it ironic that it's a quote I found on Pinterest years ago and fell in love with? No. I don't care. I don't care. It's I want to pull up the actual quote, but I'm just going to paraphrase. Why did I just lose it? Help me out.
I don't know, but Greek goddess.
Yeah, it's Greek goddess. If Persephone can be both the goddess of spring and the queen of the underworld, so can you.
Yes, and that was awesome.
And I love that because it tells you that you can have all these different aspects of your personality. You can be, let's look at where we live. We have all 4 seasons. So you can be that girl who wears sundresses in the spring, and then when it gets colder out, if you want to put on a leather jacket and feel like a badass, that's okay. You can have all these different aspects of who you are, and you should.
And you should. And that's really the core of it.
Yeah. And it worked out so nicely. We haven't even gotten to how it became core.
Well, because core is a K-O-R-E is another
name
for Persephone, and we thought that was just too cool to not use.
It was a great choice.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of a good segue into like the next part of this, but I don't want to get there. First, I want to talk about ology. I want to talk about where we got the ology, because
the ology is the joke. Yes. The ology is the joke, and I love it.
Literally, like the week before, my sister and I were, this is before she moved, but we were together somewhere, and we're like, you know what is the most hipster thing to do when you're coming up with a new business name is to take whatever you're doing and put ology at the end. And I told you, and you're like, oh, we should do that. And I was like, I'm trying to say we shouldn't do that, but if you think so.
But we did, and we steered into the skid, and I love it for that.
Yeah.
And honestly, what's more hipster than doing something hipster to make fun of the hipsters? And not even make fun, but just the irony of it. I love it.
It's kind of ironic.
I love it.
Yeah, so that's it. That's how we came up with the name.
I don't regret it.
I don't regret it either. It kind of rolls off the tongue, which I'm very happy about.
Yeah, you don't want it to be complicated to say.
It all came together.
It did.
And, the deeper meaning about being, this person and also this person, and that being all right.
Yeah, because you don't need to put yourself into a box. And I feel like that's where we go wrong in this world a lot of times, is that we want to be defined by something. We want to say, oh, well, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. How many people define themselves by their job? Or like that's by the fact that you're a mom. You can put yourself in this box. And then on the flip side, we get upset when people put us into a box. We say, well, I'm not defined by that, or don't label me like this, but we do it to ourselves. And then we struggle when it comes to, well, can I be this person when I was this person yesterday? Well, yes, you can.
There's a science to it, and I'm not saying that we have it all worked out, but our big catchphrase right now is to be your most authentic self and to live your most authentic life. And just the fact that the whole Persephone thing ties in so well with being authentic to you. But what does it really mean to be authentic?
And that is such a hard question.
Right? Because what does that even mean? Like, it's an easy thing to just say, like, oh, yeah, I'm so authentic.
It's so easy to say. And then on the same hand, you can throw in the word genuine and say, oh, well, to be authentic means to be genuine. But what does it mean to be genuine? Because I feel there's multiple different definitions for
I do too.
Any of these words.
I feel like you can even be genuine without being authentic. And I'm still kind of trying to form that in my brain as to how.
Well, I get that, because I think a definition of being genuine is, and tell me if you disagree, but is doing things with a good heart and just having good intentions behind things, and not doing things out of your own personal gain or to play the cards in your favor, so to speak.
Right.
Being genuine is just doing it because you want to do it as a good person. And maybe that doesn't line up with being authentic, because authenticity can be defined more so as maybe being true to yourself.
Yeah, I think we like to box in the whole authenticity word with like being your real self and all of that. But what is your real self? What does that mean? Does it mean just like not being fake? Like what's
and then what is fake
then? So like we talked about this like not even 15 minutes before we pushed the record button. Olivia has the worst retail voice.
I do. And it was pointed out to me last night. I was informed that I have the fakest retail voice. And
But does that mean that you're not being authentic when you're using your retail voice? Like, is that where fake comes in? Like, I don't think so.
Right. And I don't think so either, because I know that my retail voice comes from a place of, hey, these people, I don't know them. I don't know what I can say around them. I have to just watch and be mindful of certain things, because the way that I talk to you isn't going to be the way that I talk to someone I have never met before.
Or anybody else for that matter.
Because it depends on the person. It depends on your boundaries with that person, your comfortableness, I think is the word I'm shooting for here, with that person. There's so many aspects or qualities, or help me with the word I'm looking for, whatever it is that go into it.
Right.
And who can really say that, oh, this is fake? My voice might seem fake, but it only seems fake to people who know other voices of mine. It doesn't necessarily seem fake to those people that are meeting me for the first time.
So is that the people who are calling you out, like the people who were listening to you talk to these other people, and then they're like, oh, that's not the real Liv?
Okay, the guy that called me out I was at the winery, and I've known him for, I don't know, X amount of time through the winery. I've never had really in-depth conversations with him. But last night he was staying to help redecorate and do a bunch of stuff and just give me and my dad a hand. So we struck up a conversation. Mm-hmm. And I was a different person in that conversation than I was when people came in to buy wine.
I just don't know why people would expect that to go any other way, because I do the same thing when I'm here.
I don't know that it's so much an expectation, though, as to we get used to the side of a person that we see. And the only person we're with 100% of the time is ourselves. So we're used to all of these sides of us and all of these variations of us.
Yeah.
Everybody else isn't. So if they've only ever seen one side of it, then seeing us in a different form is going to throw them for a loop. And that's where it comes in of, oh, you're fake. No, it's not necessarily
that doesn't mean
fake.
That you're fake.
It just means they're not used to that part of you.
Yeah. It's like Shrek. Onions have layers. People have layers.
We're all onions.
Let's
all be onions.
We're oniony. We're little bulb kids. Bulb boys. You know what I'm saying, though?
I do. I get it. And I think that's something that, again, going back to those layers and what you said, a lot of times we don't want to be complicated. Do you want your life to be complicated?
Not at all. And I don't want anybody to think that my life is complicated, because we
want to put on a charade and make everybody think, oh, our life is so simple and easy, and it's two-dimensional when we do that.
Right.
And that's not real life. Real life is three-dimensional. So
I feel like if you get into too many of those dimensions, like with people, like you've just met, suddenly you're the oversharer, and you're just like putting all of this out there for somebody, and they don't really care. And that's why we come up with our fake retail voices. And I don't know that I agree that it's necessarily fake. It's just what we have to be in the moment.
I think also, yes, in the moment, and then it can play into boundaries too, because obviously you're closer with some people than others. You're going to share certain things with the people you're closer to than somebody walking down the street.
Right.
You're not going to take your dog for a walk and all of a sudden just see somebody, hey, how are you? Oh, let me tell you what happened this week. No, you don't do that. You don't. You say, oh, I'm good. How are you? Maybe a little bit of small talk, and then you move on.
For the record, I hate small talk.
I do too.
For that reason,
it is my least favorite.
It doesn't feel genuine if we're talking about being genuine. It just doesn't feel genuine. My genuine reaction to someone stopping me on the street is, hey, how are you? Oh, good. How are you? All right. Well, see you later.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely
genuine for me. If you're expecting me to sit there and talk to you and, share, how my week's been, that doesn't
barking up the wrong tree.
That does not sit well right here. And that's when I can see the fakeness turn on in myself, is when I am forced into something that makes me uncomfortable, like a spontaneous conversation about something I don't care about, like what you had for dinner last night. I don't care.
Well, okay, I love that, and I love that you actually said that's not from here, because I think that's a huge, huge aspect of authenticity, is your home frequency in your heart and when you feel the most at peace. And so many people myself included, can get addicted to the adrenaline or the fight or flight or anything that sends you on a bit of a roller coaster ride, to the point that that almost feels authentic. And in my opinion, I figured this out over the last year and a half. My most authentic self comes out when I am calm and when my heart feels good. So for me,
and that makes sense too,
yeah,
right?
Well, so for me, authenticity is if my heart is calm, if I feel like I'm at my home frequency, then I am going to be the most authentic version, whichever version you get of me in that moment. If I'm stressed out, if I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to start putting those barricades up, and that's when the authenticness won't necessarily be there.
I still think that even if you are putting the barricades up, that is still an authentic response, right?
Yeah, because it's just your natural reaction. So,
Yep. But it probably means you shouldn't be engaging. If you're trying
those
to
situations,
be the most authentic person that you can possibly be, you should probably try to avoid or figuring out a better response.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I feel like this whole, like, what's authenticity and what's fake and everything like that, it's more about what you're putting out into the world, not necessarily how you're behaving or saying. Certainly those things go into it.
Yeah.
But it's more about, like, what are you actually putting out in there? And is what you're saying and doing, like, reflecting on your core beliefs and your core values? Like, if that's what it is, if I'm up here behind the counter and I'm, doing the small talk thing, but I'm still being kind and helpful and, gentle and understanding and listening and all of those things, that is still an authentic response from me.
Because that's still who you are.
Because
you may change your voice, you may change your behaviors,
right.
But in the core of who you are, hey, I'm being true to what I believe, being true to your morality, like you said, your core values, everything like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, if you want to say there is a defining line between authentic and fake, if you're not honoring who you truly are, that's when you can say you're being fake. But the only person who can say that is yourself.
Is you. And that's where we come to this introspection, this, like, harsh, to know, like, oh, I know this is getting heavy. This is heavy,
but
man.
It's a good talk to have because
we don't talk about these
introspection is right. It's not talked about. It's not anything that we necessarily push as a world to say we should dig deep into this. We need to find out why we do X, Y, and Z, because a lot of times, speaking from experience, you don't want to know. You have no desire to dig that deep. And I don't know, I would like to see more people do it because I know how it's benefited me.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see everybody get to a point where they can say, hey, I am being authentic because I know why I do this. I know who I am. I know what values to me, what matters to me.
Right.
All right.
So the whole introspection just means that you're going to have to face a lot of harsh truths about yourself. For most of us anyway, because a lot of us aren't used to being authentic all the time.
Yes.
And so we put up these masks and these images that we think people want to see or that we think we want of ourselves. So it's really hard to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, this is not who I want to be. This is not who I ever wanted to be.
Yeah.
How do I change that? How do I get there? How do I fix what's going on so that I can come off as more authentic and just feel like everything is coming together. All of my values, my head, my heart, my hands, everything is just working together for the same purpose, and I'm not split in different directions. That's a hard thing to do.
It really is. It's probably the hardest thing. And I think one of the reasons behind that is, like you said, we put on masks for other people, and we spend a lot of time thinking about, well, what other people want us to be, so much so to the point that we are not true to ourselves and we become someone that we're unhappy with. We allow that to happen.
Yeah.
And I think another huge part of this is other people's opinions. And we take them to heart, because you can have somebody say, speaking from experience, I've had people tell me, well, you haven't gone through X, Y, and Z, or you haven't had a single hardship in your life. You haven't had anything. And while I may not have gone through the things others have, that doesn't mean I haven't gone through anything.
You've gone through your things.
Exactly. And everybody has their own things. To what degree we have gone through anything
Right.
is going to vary for anybody. When you have someone trying to undersell or undercut what you've gone through, then it makes you feel bad. And you get this idea in your head as, well, do I have a right to feel this way?
Absolutely,
and you start
you do.
questioning it. And then I think that's part of where the masks come in. Is, oh, well, I shouldn't feel this way. I don't have a right to feel this way. Yes, you do.
That drives me crazy. And I do not mind talking about that on a later podcast, but that drives me absolutely up the wall to tell me that I can't feel a certain way about it because I didn't experience it in the same way that you did. I'm a different person. I am wired differently. My physiology is different than yours.
And your life experiences are different.
I can feel however I want to about a situation.
Yes. And no one can discredit your feelings.
Stop gatekeeping my feelings. Stop doing it. Just quit.
And people try to. And then I think that affects our own authenticity of we begin to question if it's okay to feel a certain thing or believe a certain thing.
Yeah.
And we become so wrapped up in believing that we should become who other people want us to be. And again, speaking from experience, I have never been unhappier than when I did everything that everybody else wanted me to.
Right.
I was miserable.
I can relate to that too.
It's awful.
It's awful.
I don't wish that on anybody.
I do have a quote here.
I love quotes.
That's I actually came across this YouTube video just completely by
happenstance.
It was on my, my, hey, you might like this. Turns out I did. They were
YouTube
right.
YouTube knows you so well.
It's by, and I will put the link to the video in the description box below. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're joining us on Spotify or one of the others,
iTunes, Apple, all the things.
All of the things. If you're joining us there, I'll find a way to link it there too. But the name of the video is "The Death of Authenticity," and it's by Psych IRL.
I'm so excited. I want to go watch it after this.
All right.
I don't even know what it's about yet.
So the quote is by I'm not even going to.
Oh, can I try to say it?
Can you even read my writing?
I can try.
Herminia. I think it's Herminia
You didn't
Ibarra.
write Herminia. You wrote Herminia.
I know. It's
Herminia Ibarra. Maybe you messed up her name. His name? I don't know.
I think it's a woman. Professor Ibarra. Let's go with Professor Ibarra. She says, when we are unsure of ourselves or our ability to perform well or measure up in a new setting, we often retreat to familiar behaviors and styles. The moments that most challenge our sense of self are the ones that can teach us the most about leading effectively. Yeah. By viewing ourselves as works in progress and involving our professional identities through trial and error, we can develop a personal style that feels right to us and suits our organization's changing needs. Discuss.
I'm going to start with works in progress.
Right?
I adore that part, and I have started adopting that within the last year and a half to remind myself and remind other people you are a work in progress, and that's a good thing. You're always growing, you're always learning. And recently I was put into a position where I had to make the hardest decision of my adult life, and I fought it. I struggled with it. I talked to X, Y, and Z people about it. And at the end of the day, I made the decision that I felt was the best and truest call. Now, will I make that decision again in the future? I don't know. I hope I never have to be in that situation again to make that call. But that was one of those in the face of adversity, in a challenge where do I do what I believe is right, or do I do what I believe is easy?
Right.
And that in and of itself teaches someone a lot about themselves.
And so you got to put a new little brush stroke on your canvas
about
did. Who you are, because it was something that you didn't know what you were capable of before.
Absolutely. And
now you know
you really don't
the path to take should that ever happen again.
And again, I don't ever want to be put in the situation to have to make that choice again. But I can also then look back and say, okay, this is what I did last time. let's compare it to this situation. What do I do here? And you don't get those learning experiences until you're in them and until you allow yourself to have them. Because I remember growing up and hearing from my parents, I hope you learn from your brother. I hope you learn from your sister. I hope you learn from this.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I did my best to do that. And then the older I got, I started making my own mistakes. And a lot of them were the same ones that my siblings had made. Because you cannot learn a lesson, as ideal as it would be to be able to, until you're in that situation, until you have to make that choice. That's why teenagers, God love them, make so many mistakes.
They just keep doing the same things over and over. You tell them and they just don't listen.
And they're still learning.
That won't happen to me. Yeah. I'm different. No, bitch, you're not different.
You are not exempt from this. You're going through the teenage years just like everybody else. And then you get into your 20s, into your 30s, and you realize, wow, I made a lot of dumb mistakes. But by this point, you stop making them because you did it once, you learned from it, and you said, this is not a choice I would make again, or this is a choice I would make again.
Yeah.
And you have to do that. It sucks. It is a brutal process to have that live and learn, but how else are you going to do? The goal isn't to get through life and never have done anything.
Right. To defend your parents, though.
Oh, and I wasn't trying to say that they're bad parents at all.
No.
I was just referencing. I love my parents.
It's not good advice. It's not good advice, but it really hurts to see somebody go through the same thing that you've already seen before and you've already experienced. And you're like, listen, this is not the good thing. This is going to bring the bad things. You need to be doing the different things. And it's hard not to interfere with that. But I think we need to remember that everyone else is going through changes. We're all growing. We need to see everybody else as unfinished works of art.
Yes.
It's not just ourselves that we have to worry about being authentic. I have to look at you and know that tomorrow you're going to make decisions that are going to change the rest of your life. Maybe they won't, but they might.
But I believe
you never
they
know
will.
About that French fry. You never know.
The French fry is always worth it.
Always trust the French fry.
Except you broke your French fry. That's a whole different topic.
Oh my God. I'll bring French fry on the next episode. I'm so upset about French fry.
You should fix French fry so we can have him on the next episode.
Well, I think everybody needs to see French fry as a broken soul before we can begin to fix French fry. And yeah.
I got to throw this out there too. Just because you said he's broken, and I adore this. I believe it's Japanese culture. I could be wrong. I cannot remember for the life of me.
I'll look it up for the next episode.
You should. I should. We could look it up right now, honestly.
I don't want to.
But it's said that when, say, a vase breaks or anything breaks, you know where I'm going?
I've heard this one, but go ahead.
It's repaired. I don't want to say it's repaired with gold, but it's repaired in such a way that the broken object, once it's put back together, is considered more beautiful.
Yeah.
Because it's had all of this, in the terms of humanity, life experience.
It's had life experience.
And I love that, to the point that I have a clock that I got from Target. I love it.
Aww.
The clock is really, really small, dead center. And then it looks like almost a sun, but it's white. And in all the rays extending out from the center, there are mirrors. I forget how it broke. I honestly do. But at some
point... Sounds like it would have been a cool story, though.
It fell off the wall. And I, if I could remember, I'd tell you guys.
Make up a story for next time. It better be a good one.
And it fell off the wall, and one of the rays, the mirror shattered. And I was devastated. And then I was scrolling through Pinterest.
Poor mirror.
And I saw this, where it said, when it's broken, it's repaired, and it's considered more beautiful. And I wrote on it instead. I didn't try to repair it, but I just wrote, time is non-refundable. Spend it wisely.
Oh, my God.
And I absolutely adore that clock now.
That's so cute. That's
right.
That's a better story than one you can make up. I like that.
Isn't it? I like my story.
A lot.
And it is the only genuine wall clock that I have in my house, and I believe I will have it forever because of that lesson behind it.
Yep.
Because it's a daily reminder, and it's also, hey, if you're broken right now, you will not be broken forever. It takes work, it takes digging, it takes introspection to get back to that point. But you will come back stronger and better, and you'll know yourself better, therefore be able to live your most authentic life.
That clock has seen some shit.
It really has, though.
But at the end of the day, the clock knows who the clock is.
It's all about the damn clock. Anyway, let's go back. What else are we talking about here? That was a work in progress.
We'll bring French fry back next week. That's basically all it is. But I just think that when you're looking at people, we need to recognize that they're also maybe going through some rough times. And yeah, maybe they are putting on a front or whatever. I don't think that it's at that point appropriate to point out, oh, you're being so fake right now. No, they're coping. You need to be a little bit more forgiving for that.
And you need to be understanding.
Try to find out what you would want somebody to say to you, even if you don't know the situation, but you can just feel in your heart that something's going on. I don't know what it is. If I need to try to find something to do to help, I better make it constructive and not destructive, because that's the last thing that you want to do is call someone out on being fake, and then they're just expected to try to prove to you that, oh no, this is who I really am, and then they just adopt this for the rest of their lives. Like that's just not that's just not the core of us. We're trying to make women suck less, and so this is how we do it. And
to encourage each other more.
Encourage us more.
That's, I think, what it comes down to. And then that's going to draw a very fine line between, you know, if you see somebody being destructive to themselves, how do you help?
Ooh, and that is rough too, right?
That's hard.
That is hard.
That is hard, because the reality of the situation is, if you see someone being destructive to themselves, you can help and you can step in to the best of your ability, but sometimes it's out of your hands.
Sometimes it's out of your hands. At the end of the day, it's up to the individual to want to make the change and to decide for themselves who that authentic person is. Even if you don't like it, even if it's they end up the type of person that you just don't get along with anymore, that's fine. They are being their self. You are being yourself. It might just be time to walk away and, you know, be with people who, you know, you're birds of a feather. Just find your birds.
Find the people who feel like sunshine.
Yeah.
Maybe my favorite one.
We should have brought that one over.
I told you we should have.
Oh my
gosh,
it's
fine. We'll put it on the next one.
I put the miserable cow one up there.
I still like the miserable cow one.
It felt relevant. Incredible things will happen to you today if you choose not to be a miserable cow.
That is insanely relevant, though, okay? Because when you talk about authenticity, a lot of times you get people who are stuck in a mindset of, no, I can't. Or no, I won't. And that goes back to you saying you have to want to change. You have to want to do that work. You have to be willing to be introspective and get to know yourself.
It's not easy.
It's not. It's awful.
It's a hard choice to have to make, especially when there's so many other people ready to make those choices for you. Social media will make those choices for you.
Oh, absolutely. And social media will either make you feel like you have it all together or your life is awful.
Yeah.
There is no in between, I don't think.
It's nobody else's fault that you're a miserable cow.
Yeah.
It's your own damn fault you're a miserable cow.
Should we briefly touch on accountability in this? Because that's where this is headed. Can I just say my line? I'm just going to say my line.
Say your line.
That, I believe, is a huge part of being authentic, is being accountable for your life. Whether it's the good, the bad, the in-between, it's your choice.
We're really bringing it to them today.
We are. These are the hard truths. The hard truths.
Don't say we didn't warn you. We definitely warned you.
Multiple times. It's fine. Everything's fine. But
yeah, accountability.
I believe that. You have to take ownership. I mean, like I said, this awful decision that I had to make, it brought a lot of consequences to it. I brought them on myself.
You brought them on yourself.
Because I chose that.
You knew the consequences.
I did.
And here we are.
Exactly. And I've learned from it. And you know what? I am not putting this off on somebody else and saying, oh, well, this person did this and this person did this. I'm bringing it back to me and saying, this is what I felt I had to do. Nobody else forced my hand. And that is part of being authentic. Own your authenticness. Own your choices. Own who you are. Because if you don't, you're going to allow other people to walk all over you and decide who you are.
Right. I mean, it wouldn't have been fair for you to make these decisions and then when you're really held to the fire, say, oh, well, I only did this because blah, 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 blah. Like, that's not accountability. No. And that's not being true to yourself and your values. Now what you're doing is you're putting your actions on somebody else's values, which were never really there to begin with.
Right.
So Just own up to it.
And it's
even
hard.
if it was a bad
It's
decision to
hard.
make. I'm not saying it was a bad decision to make, but even if it was,
Right.
even if it was not the right decision,
Own that, because then
Own
you're going
it.
to grow from it.
Yeah.
You're going to learn from it. And the truth is, being authentic is hard. Being accountable, owning who you are unapologetically is difficult. And I don't
it's going to take practice. It takes
a lot of practice. It
Yeah.
takes a lot of time to get there. And I think after a point in time, it does become natural, though.
It does. I do want to kind of wrap up by saying that if this is something that you're struggling with and you feel like you need help kind of identifying who you are, or you need help like asking the real questions, like what do I need? You know, we're here for you.
You can always reach out.
You can always reach out to us. It's more than just me and Liv. We've got about half a dozen. I don't know if we should list.
We probably shouldn't list. Follow us on Instagram if you want the list. Because there's going to be the list with ways to contact us if you need somebody to talk. But also, I'm going to say it, we're not mental health professionals.
We are not mental health professionals. If you need
counseling, if you need therapy, if you need something, I'm still going to encourage you to go get that. And that's not a bad thing.
No,
it's never
I think
a bad
even
thing.
Healthy people have to go to the doctor too.
I do.
Right? I mean, you just go, even if you just go for a checkup, you still need to go to the doctor to get checked up. Mentally healthy people still need to go get checked up.
Yes.
It's not something that you should ever be ashamed of by saying,
Never.
oh, I had a date with my therapist. Not a date. I mean, maybe it's
Let's call it a date.
I had a date with my therapist today. That should be normalized. Let's normalize that shit, you know?
Because your health realistically starts with your mental health.
It does.
If your brain, if your mind is unhealthy, you're not going to find the willpower to get up and, I don't know, go for a run or put good foods in your body or do things that benefit you.
Yeah.
And it all starts with a mindset. So you should be mindful of your mental health and be mindful of the fact that we are not psychologists.
Not psychologists.
Not even remotely. We just want to help.
We do have an interest in seeing you
thrive.
Be the best person that you can possibly be. And putting out the type of energy that this world really needs right now. So, yeah. I mean, we could go on for probably another 2 hours.
We
but
really
I think
could.
For now,
maybe we should just extend this into a part 2, or maybe we
We'll
branch
see.
into something else.
We'll see.
We can always circle back to it.
Come back next Friday and you'll find out what we decide.
You will find out. And until then, don't be a miserable cow.
Don't be a miserable pack. Oh my God. It's so cold. Words are so hard. I cannot even make anything work. It's fine. It's
Don't
fine.
be a miserable
It's fine.
cow and find the people who feel like sunshine.
Find the people who feel like sunshine.
Stay close to your sunshine.
Bye, guys. See you next week.
Later.